17 million kids don't know where their next meal is coming from, or if it's even coming at all. Yet there are billions of pounds of surplus food around the country at farms and warehouses that could help end this injustice. But all that food is useless if it doesn't get where it needs to go. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gathers surplus food and gets it to hungry kids before it goes to waste. But they can't do it without your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank. Find out how at feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together we're Feeding America.
To help solve hunger in your community and to find your local food bank, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey, is that a faucet running?
Nope, that's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest.
It is?
Yeah, forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink. The water comes straight from the forest to us. In fact...
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
How do trees clean the air?
They soak up the dirty air on their leaves, branches, and trunks, which means clean air for us.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yep. But the forest does more than give us clean air and water. It gives us shade for hot days, birds to listen to, and trees to climb.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know how cool the forest could be. Hey, let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Thursday, April 15th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. You can be a part of the program by calling us on the White Claw phone lines at 877-420-TALK. That is 877-420-8255. White Claw Hard Seltzers made pure. Coming up today on the program, John Mercer from Marshall Women's Tennis. He's back in rotation as the Thundering Herd taking on Syracuse. That is coming up on Sunday, bright and early, 11 a.m. That's not too early. 11 a.m. is not too early. So we're going to talk to him here in the next few minutes. Marshall University men's basketball signing 3 today. Kyle Braun, Wyatt Fricks, and Chase McKee to the 2021 signing class that came out earlier this afternoon. We kind of know a little bit about Kyle Braun already. He averaged 15 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. Played Scotland Prep and L.A., named to the All-West Valley team and to the Cal High Sports All-Division 3 team, All-State Division 3 team. Very athletic, very quick. That's what Dan D'Antoni was saying in the release. Said he reminds him of Stevie Browning. He's a competitor and a smart kid, so that's what Dan said in the release. Now, Wyatt Fricks, he is from Georgia, averaged 19 points and almost 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and almost 2.5 blocks per game in high school. Winder Barrow High School, all-state selection during his senior year. He is described by Dan D'Antoni in the release as a Michael Byers type of player. Can handle the ball, can run the floor, very competitive. He's athletic, can catch the ball above the rim. He can play anywhere and shoots threes well. So that's what Dan said earlier about him in the comments. And also, here's a guy to have on your team. You want to have a little heritage here. This is some heritage. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Derek McKee. Played in the NBA. Played with the Seattle Supersonics, Indiana Pacers, Philadelphia 76ers. He's a really good player. His son, Chase McKee, is coming to Marshall, averaging 13 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists per game in his career. I mean, that's a good heritage to have. A father that played 15 seasons in the NBA, not 5, 15. And here's what Dan said about him. He's a really good athlete. His dad, Derek McKee, played in the NBA, has a good lineage, can play any position 1 through 5. He's a good ball handler for someone who is 6'10", has a developing shot, but is efficient with it, is what Dan said about McKee. So you got some big shoes to fill if you're even trying to live up to a father that played 15 seasons in the NBA. But at the same time, maybe some of that rubbed off. So this will be fun to see as far as the basketball season is concerned. So that's what's looking like as far as basketball is concerned. Of course, we got a busy weekend ahead. Tomorrow, softball is taking on FAU, and then baseball will be trying to get over the loss last night. WVU defending their home and beating the Thundering Herd. So Marshall's back in action, taking on FIU. That'll be Friday at 3 p.m. And then Saturday, very busy Saturday, as baseball goes at FIU at noon, and then softball 1 and 3 against FAU, and then baseball will pick back up at 3 against FIU. So noon and 3 for baseball, 1 and 3 for softball. And then the spring game will be at 3 o'clock at Jones C. Edwards Stadium. That's going to be a busy time for Herd fans. If you're trying to do any of these in combination, you're either going to do baseball, football, or you're going to do softball, football, or you're just going to do softball or baseball or football, whatever the combination may be. A lot of Herd athletics going on Saturday. And, of course, tomorrow is going to be a busy time for baseball and softball, but Saturday, I think, is going to be really one of those. There's going to be so much happening on campus because keep in mind, you're going to have tailgating of some degree on lots surrounding Jones C. Edwards Stadium, not on the west lot, but there will be, I'm sure, some spots where somebody will be tailgating. And you'll have baseball and softball action going on. Baseball, of course, not directly on campus. Softball is. Football, all of the hoopla, the excitement is back. Is the excitement really back? At least it feels like it so far, so we'll get an opportunity to see what the Thundering Herd looks like on the football field, or at least what at this point, because this is not the finished product by any stretch of the imagination. You're not going to see anything. You're going to see what they look like, how they operate. I think that's more anything you're going to see. This is going to be a dress rehearsal for how football operates on a game day. You're not going to see the playbook. You might see some plays, but you're not going to see the playbook. You're going to see probably a lot of basics. You're going to see the structure of what Marshall football does on the football field. You're going to see the core identity, or at least as it goes at this point, you're going to see the core identity of the Thundering Herd. You're going to see Marshall's going to win. Marshall's going to lose, but Marshall's going to win. Are there really losers in this? I mean, if the green wins, the white wins. I mean, are there really losers here? We're all winners, right, in this. It's not going to be that. I'm sure it's not going to be. Remember, there used to be, for a long time, Herd fans, there used to be the competition aspect. I think one side got steak. Other side got hot dogs, I think. I know, steak, hot dog. I mean, some people maybe prefer hot dogs. I don't know. But you see where I'm saying. This is actually going to be more of a game-like event. Not necessarily a true game, but a game-like event. I think that's got a lot of Herd fans excited. I would be excited too. It's not going to be just, hey, okay, we're going to watch some controlled scrimmage here. There's actually a reason to show up. There's going to be more of an effort. I'm sure some competitive juices will be flowing a little bit because you're going to be out for the first time. You're actually going to be in front of fans for the first time since Coach Huff took over. There hasn't been the group of fans who go and look at practice. There hasn't been any of that. It's been basically you've been looking at your teammates and your coaches for the past several months, several weeks. Now you're going to be actually in front of fans. And I'm sure that'll get the energy going a little bit. And we'll see what Marshall football looks like, at least at this point. We won't be grading. If we are grading, it'll be on a curve. But we're going to hear a little bit more from what that's going to look like later on with Coach Huff. We'll hear his thoughts on what Saturday is going to be and if spring will be a success. What's that going to be like for him? What will determine if spring is a success? But when we continue, we're going to hear from John Mercer, head coach of the Marshall women's tennis team. He comes up next here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
We're taking Paul Swann everywhere. Download or subscribe to The Drive with Paul Swann on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Coming up this weekend, Marshall Tennis back in action, taking on Syracuse. And to talk to us about it, we want to welcome now to the program the head coach of the Marshall women's tennis program, John Mercer. Coach Mercer, you're up. It's your turn to be in rotation again on the program. Hey, congratulations! I think you've got the most appearances so far of anyone this year.
Thank you, Paul. Glad to be on.
How you doing, man? It's been a few days since we've talked. How you been?
Yeah, busy. So like all coaches, so recruiting, middle of the season. So got all those things going on.
You got a match coming up on Sunday. You're taking on Syracuse, and you're taking on Syracuse and what's going to be known as Senior Day. UC was canceled due to a positive COVID-19 test for Charleston, so now you've got so many schedule changes. Let's talk a little bit about this first. So Syracuse not only on the schedule but coming in, that's a pretty good get.
Yeah, that's great for us. I think they're 42 in the country right now. They're just coming off a win over Georgia Tech, who was 11. So tough opponent, and it's great to have them come play at home, and there'll be some really good tennis. So people get a chance to come out and watch. We'll be there. So starting Sunday at 11.
How did you make that happen? I mean, we're not talking about a team in Virginia or Ohio. This isn't a bus trip for Syracuse. I would imagine at least. This is a pretty substantial travel for Syracuse. Sure, we're not talking West Coast, but how'd you get them in here? I'm just kind of curious.
They called me.
Really? Okay. Good job.
So yeah, I was just answering the phone. So. Yeah, so we talked a lot at the beginning of the year. Everybody was kind of losing, matches and so on, because of all the rules and everything that was going on. So we had never played before, and we kind of touched base at the beginning of the year. He actually contacted us. He was interested in playing. It didn't work out. We couldn't find a weekend where we both had open at the same time. And so, we just kind of stayed in touch. And, we did really well there for a while. And at the end here, we lost a bunch of matches. And so that happened. And I think he wanted to try to get a match going into the ACC tournament. So just like us, his ACC tournament is coming after this weekend, so it's coming the next week, and wanted to get another outdoor match in, and play a good quality team, on the schedule. I think they're trying to work their way trying to get an at-large bid into the NCAA tournament. So just like basketball, you're trying to rack up some quality wins, and I think he thought that we could help him out there. Hopefully we won't lose the match, but. Was willing to come down here. They're on their way. They're on their way to Georgia. They're playing the ACC tournament in Rome, Georgia. So they're making a little stop over here. We'll be here for a couple of days and then head on down the road.
Okay, so I guess it is going to be a long road trip then for them.
Yeah, well, they'll fly in. They'll fly into Charleston, stay here 2 days, and then fly back out of Charleston Sunday evening.
Okay.
Down to Atlanta, and then go to Rome from there. So, so that's their schedule, and worked out well.
Now, obviously, you're not planning on losing. You want to give them a good match and then beat them. You mentioned some things have not gone your way as of late. What'd you take away from Cincinnati that can maybe get you back on the right track?
Got to get off to a little bit better start in the doubles. We've been doing better, then for some reason on Sunday we didn't start quite as fast. It's a tough go. With a one set, no ad scoring, if you don't get off to a good start, you don't want to be digging yourself out of holes. So, we ended up losing in doubles point. And, basically came down to our number one singles. Anna Smith was playing, and it was a deciding third set tiebreaker. She was up 7-6 in the tiebreaker, and got a tough overrule from the umpire in the chair. So we thought we'd won the match, and the umpire overruled her call, and we ended up losing the match. So, just like all the other sports, sometimes the officials get involved in the game, and sometimes you get a tough call go against you. But they bounced back pretty quick. It was nice. They had a day off on Monday, and Tuesday they all came in with good attitudes and were ready to work hard. So they're young. They bounce back. They get to play again this weekend. They're excited about it. So it's good to be around those type of people.
Did you get all John McEnroe on the chair? Did you do anything? Did you have
Unfortunately, I did after the match.
Okay.
But I still have my job though, and so it wasn't too bad.
Did you sling a racket or?
I pretty much I pretty much made it known that really wasn't the right call, and I didn't at the time because the experiences then it really doesn't get you anywhere. Sometimes it's not the best for the player, so I let it go, and we ended up losing the match. And at that point, I kind of let them know that that just wasn't a good call. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't a good time to get involved in the match. And to make that call is just, put it this way, we played a lot of away matches that we've had that same thing happen to us also. And, as the visiting team, and, you never get that call in an away match. And so for that to happen on our home courts is just, I don't know, it's a little surprising, I guess. It's a little frustrating.
Let me ask you this. Does this make you and your players bond a little bit more? Could they look at coach, go, uh-oh, he's serious here? That's because you're not the type of guy that I imagine is really having words with the chair. Maybe I'm wrong, John, but you don't seem to be the guy. Of all the coaches that are going to get hot on the sideline, I don't have you high on my list. And do your players? Is that sometimes you just do that so your players? Can rally behind you, or you're trying to get them to gel. What's the plan here? Is there some ulterior motives?
Yeah. No. I can be a little fiery at times. So I've talked to my bosses about that. So sometimes I struggle with the officials. Again, I'm kind of giving you a lot of comparisons between basketball and tennis and so on, and it's really not any different. I played basketball through my freshman year of college, and grew up in that world also, along with tennis. And the umpires, sometimes they have good days, and sometimes they don't have good days, just like basketball officials. Just like basketball coaches, sometimes you want to put your 2 cents in there and kind of let them know how you feel how they officiated the match. But, over the years, I've had a couple clashes with officials and so on. So, but in the end, we all still get along pretty well. You kind of get to know who they are, get to know them after a while. It's kind of a similar crew going around and going all different matches. We get good officials. We get a lot of the guys that do a lot of the SEC matches. Come out of Kentucky. They come over here. So we've always had good crews. That was just a tough one. So, believe it or not, and I don't know if this has ever happened, but literally the year prior, we were up at Penn State, and our number 2 player was in the exact same situation. Third set, up 7-6 in the tiebreaker in the third set, the exact same call on the exact same baseline. Overruled, and we went on and lost the match. So 2 years in a row, I've lost matches on overruled and third set tiebreakers. So maybe that was a little bit of my frustration on Sunday. So,
our guest is Marshall women's basketball coach, because that's what it sounds like. You're Tony Kemper now. I've seen Tony get hot. So
I don't know if I could do Tony's job. I don't know if I could take it.
I don't know. I've seen Tony get a little hot. I'm just I I'm putting you in that sphere now. I just can't imagine.
Well,
I just can't imagine that Associate Athletic Director Beatrice Crane Banford calling you to the office. I can't imagine this.
well, you know what? We're all competitive, and you get in this world of college athletics, and when you've done it for a long time and so on, and we all want to win. We all want our players to win, and our players respect that too. It's kind of what you were going down that line too. I mean, there's kind of an understanding. We kind of go over it. I don't want the players getting involved with the umpires. I'll get involved if I feel like it's necessary.
Right.
We don't want you guys getting involved with it. That's a disaster waiting to happen. And so, and like I said, we're all competitive. It doesn't matter what sport it is. I mean, like I said, I played baseball growing up, soccer. I played 4 different sports. Played 2 in college. Stuck with tennis at the end. And, I think, if you're going to have successful programs, like we've had, I mean, you're probably pretty competitive. So the most competitive one is my wife, who was the coach for 9 years. So as competitive as I am, she's really competitive.
Okay, she's the one I can see.
It's a good story.
Yeah, she's the one I can see getting a little hot. Now, I'm not saying you can't, John. I'm just saying of the two of you, she's the one I see that can get up in a grill. She kind of does it with a stare and a glance, and so on. So that's a good story in itself. So she one year we lost the conference tournament on our home court. So one year we held the conference tournament. We had 3 match points. What's with the match point thing today? But we had 3 match points to win the tournament and go on to the NCAA tournament, and we ended up losing the match. And after the match, they presented the runner-up trophy, and instead of holding the trophy, she just kind of knelt it on the ground in front of her. And the bosses didn't appreciate that so much, so she didn't want to hold the trophy after we lost. And she was not in a good mood. So it was an interesting story. But anyways, like I said, she's pretty competitive, so which probably leads into why my kids are so competitive. Fair. Very fair.
So our team, we've been through some battles over the years. So good one in South Carolina, which was really interesting, where one of the officials told me that the reason he's not the head official anymore was because he didn't give enough home calls. So that was a good one. So it happens, and there's definitely usually on the road is usually a little tougher go in all the sports. So again, that's probably why I was a little frustrated on Sunday that we didn't get. We had a match point call go against us. So I can't say we've had many of those ever at home, but we had one, and but we'll move on, and we'll play Syracuse on Sunday, and hopefully we'll have a great match. Tell you what, it makes for great drama. So if the people who are there, I mean, they get their money's worth, right?
Right, so, I agree with you. They got their ticket price and then some. Watching John Mercer
quite entertaining.
Go off on the sidelines there. I wish I would have seen that. Look, I don't want to get you into trouble. John Mercer joins us, Marshall tennis coach. I really don't want to get you in trouble. That's an excellent story. So I will walk you away from that story now, and let's talk about the schedule. You've had a lot to deal with. You've had several schedule adjustments. The UC match, for example, 4th match that has been canceled or postponed due to COVID. How have these schedule adjustments impacted you and your team?
Unfortunately, they were probably all wins on our record. So it affected our record, especially not playing. WVU was shorthanded, and they're having to play some kids slower in their lineup, and so hopefully we're going to be able to win those couple. I mean, they're pretty good if they had their whole lineup, but but that ends up affecting us because like we've kind of discussed before, now that we don't have those wins, it affects our national ranking, which affects our seeding at the conference tournament. And so again, it's just one of those years. It's like, what can you do? I've made a lot of calls trying to find teams to play, and with the COVID rules and restrictions, 72 hours in advance, or window, prior to match, teams need to be tested. It's like impossible to get teams in at the last second. So, so we got Syracuse in. That'd be a great win for us. It would really jump us up in the seedings for the conference tournament. But, right now, our national ranking is being affected simply because we just don't have enough results, which is frustrating. So, we'll play Sunday and then go to the conference tournament and play whoever they tell us to play.
What are you looking forward to? What are you trying to get out of this, other than the win? What are you trying to get out of this team in your final match before the tournament?
From the day that I started, even the days where I was the assistant men's coach at WVU, our attitude was always, if you can get a good team to play them. We'll play anywhere, anytime. You pick the slot, and we'll get there, and we'll play. And, when he called and he's like, we'll come down, ran it past Beatrice, our SWA. She's like, sure, if you want. And I was like, yeah, we'll play. And the kids on the team were excited about it. So you get an ACC team in here that's got top national wins and, is really good. And let's play them on our home courts and, let's give them a good match. And ultimately, that's how you get better. You play these teams. And, I think we had discussed earlier in the year, we've gone and played UVA at UVA and got beat up pretty bad. But, it was competitive, but, we didn't win a match. But it was good. But then we came back and had the best win of the season 2 days later. Beat a team Furman who's 35 in the country, and or 32 now. But a lot of that I attributed that we were just used to playing that level. You kind of get accustomed to playing that level and what works and what doesn't work and so on. So again, just like that, it's an opportunity to play a team like this, Syracuse, on Sunday, then roll into the conference tournament. Hopefully that'll help us prepare for the conference tournament. So that's kind of the whole gist of it. And the kids, they want to play teams that are good. They want to play, name brand teams and ACC teams, the Big Ten teams, and they like that. So it's fun to do.
John Mercer joins me, head coach of the Marshall women's tennis program. So with such a small sampling size and really not able to play consistently, who stood out for you so far? And where have they been successful?
Madison Blue's done really well at 3, playing third singles and third doubles. She got off to an awesome start at the beginning of the year. A little banged up now, but did really well. Won the other day, had a really good win in the Cincinnati match. The girl she played has won a lot of matches for them at 3. So she's done really well. What has been nice, Madison Riley at 6 has done really well. She clinched the match for us, earlier in the year, big match, the Furman match, actually. She's from over in Portsmouth, so local girl, who made it back here eventually as a grad transfer, and it was great to have her the last 2 years. So, she's been a real asset. Anna Smith, another senior, won. She's lost 2 tough third set tiebreakers to Virginia Tech and, the one to Cincinnati the other day. But she won a 6-4 third match, deciding match against Middle Tennessee. So, what's kind of happening is we're kind of like, it's kind of being spread out. We're kind of even up and down the lineup, and you just, we play pretty good doubles, and we're able to win some doubles. Sometimes we lose, but Liberty, which was a good win, we lost the doubles, but came back and won the match, won 4 matches. So it's really been just more than ever with our team. We're not like top heavy. We're not bottom heavy. It's just all throughout the lineup. You just never, you're trying to win a doubles point and win 3 matches, or you're trying to, you lose a doubles point, you're trying to win 4 matches. And, it's just kind of been that kind of year where you just never know where the wins are coming from. And, on Sunday, even though we lost a doubles point, we were just that close. We lost another match at 5 singles, 7-5 in the third. So we lost 7-5 in the third and 7-6 in the third to lose the match. Otherwise, we would have been able to pull it out. But it's that close. College tennis has gotten insanely competitively close. There's probably like 50 teams like us right now that are between ranked 50 to 100 at any given day. It's literally coming down to 1 or 2 points in a match. So, with the no-ad scoring, you can, win 1 no-ad point, you get a game. You win 2, you got 2 games, and it might be 5-all in the third, and you lose 2, 40 points, and you've lost the match 7-5, and literally came down to those 2 points. And that's a tough go in tennis, because tennis is a little bit like baseball. Like, you need to play like a lot of points to kind of get a feel for an average. You got to have a lot of bats before you really have a feel for an average. You got to play 162 games before you really figure out who's the best. And to sit there and say, okay, we're going to play a 60-game season like they did in baseball last year, that's tough. That's a sprint, and it's kind of what tennis has turned into. With the change in the formats, no ad scoring, 1 set of doubles. It's much more of a sprint as compared to the old days where you were playing, 2 out of 3 sets, regular scoring. Matches took forever, but you really kind of, it was to the advantage of the better team, and now it works where it's, you're getting more upsets. Basically, is what's happening. So. And that's why, you're getting a lot of exciting matches. You're getting us beating Furman, but then turning around and losing to Cincinnati, which is a good team. They're good. I'm not, but they're not Furman. So, that's kind of, where we are in college tennis right now.
John Mercer joins me, head coach of the Marshall women's tennis team. Coach, I know I've kept you pretty long before I let you go. Let's talk about Sunday, senior day. What's this class meant to you?
They have been fighters for 4 years. We had, if you remember our conversations over the years, we had some terrible injury situations where we're playing with 4 players, and we take 6 players to play a match, and we're playing with 4, and our record wasn't as good. This class came in at a point where we had 17 winning seasons in a row, and they came in and we immediately had 2 losing seasons. And it was just one of those things. It was like the perfect storm situations, and it was a tough thing to go through. And they hung in there. They hung around. They've been here the whole time. They've had some great wins. Like this past year, they've had some tough ones, like the other day. But they've shown up and they've worked hard every day. And that's Danny Dankovic, who plays 2, and Anna Smith, who plays 1. Madison Riley, our third one, who's a grad person, she's only been here the last 2 years, so she didn't have the tough times of the early part. But the last 2 years, 11-4, and this year, getting some good quality wins and so on, having a better team and so on have been good. And Anna has really, worked hard to, play at the top of the lineup. And Danny also, she came in, played 6 her freshman year, has now played, some matches at 1 this year, 1 and 2, and won some good matches like Virginia Tech match and so on. Really improved over the years. But just the fact that they hung in there when it was really tough. Some tough seasons. That's what you're thankful for and really appreciate. So that's where we are, especially now when it's so easy to transfer, right? The transfer portal.
I hear that's pretty easy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but our kids are pretty loyal. I mean, they're pretty good. They've all been pretty good. We really haven't anybody's leave. I think that says a lot about the community and the school and, the tennis program. So
we'll talk about the transfer portal another time. That could probably be another 20 minutes. I don't have 20 minutes. I don't have 20 more minutes, so I can't do that with you. John Mercer joins me, head coach of the Marshall women's tennis team. Sunday, it'll be tennis versus Syracuse, 11 a.m. Try not to get called back to the associate athletic director's office, okay?
No. Yeah. I think I'm good.
Okay.
I got my 2 cents in. I'm
okay. Good luck.
We'll be ready Sunday.
I hope so.
We'll be ready to go.
I hope so.
Hope everybody can make it out. Really appreciate it. Senior day, so 11 o'clock. We'll do a couple awards, for our seniors, and then we'll play the match. If you want to come see some really good tennis, we'll be there.
John Mercer, head coach of the Marshall women's tennis team. I'll talk to you soon. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Go Herd.
It's John Mercer. I have a new I have a new image of John Mercer just giving the chair the business. I never would imagine that, really. John Mercer being that guy that would go up against the chair. You're supposed to get those calls at home. I mean, come on. You got to get those calls at home. I understand that 100%. When we continue, we'll talk a little Marshall football with you. Coach Huff getting ready for Saturday. What's his role going to be like? We'll find out when we continue with today's edition of The Drive.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Spring games coming up this weekend. Saturday, 3 o'clock, Joe C. Edwards Stadium. It'll be our first real opportunity to see Marshall's football team in motion. And Coach Huff is going to be on the sidelines. But this isn't going to be a controlled scrimmage. This instead is going to be more of a rundown of what game day looks like. It's a game simulation. So what's Coach going to be doing? Is he going to be coaching on the green side? Is he going to be coaching on the white side? What's his role going to be for Saturday?
Probably right down the middle. You know, I'll be excited for the guys that are making plays, but I'll also be trying to get the team to the next play. You know, from a managing the game standpoint, I'm not going to be on either side for the spring game. So the players know, kind of like we do when we scrimmage here on Saturdays, it's going to be kind of me managing the situations, managing the game. I tell my coaches all the time, especially in scrimmage situations, let the kids play. Let's see what they know. Let's see what they don't know. And that's kind of what Saturday's going to be. Obviously, the coaches will be coaching their guys up, but I want these guys to enjoy it. I spoke on the radio show a couple of days ago, and this is a good opportunity for us to see, myself included, how we're going to act in the arena. It's one thing to be, you know, in a scrimmage situation. It's one thing to be at practice, but how are we going to act in a game-like simulation? You know, or some players, when the lights come on, anxiety goes way up, and they do things that they haven't normally done. You know, I tell the players all the time, game day is not the day to make stuff up. Like, you got to fall back on what you've done all week. You got to fall back what you've done all spring.
By the way, the radio program, The Drive with Paul Swann. The radio program. Coach Huff was asked earlier this week, what will it be? How will you know that this was a successful spring? Here's his response.
Yeah, I'll be able to gauge how successful the spring was by how our summer program runs. Because that's to me how you evaluate it. I don't have Marshall's going to win the spring game regardless. So I'll be able to evaluate how successful the spring was when our guys return in June or at the end of May. When our guys return, how much have they retained? How much better are they? How much better of a knowledge do they have of the system? Are they able to continue to progress from the last time we saw them? I think that's what you got to do. I don't think you can say, hey, this happened Saturday, so spring was great, or this didn't happen Saturday, because again, there were things that happened last Saturday in the scrimmage that were great, and there were things that happened that you would have thought we've never coached football a day in our life. So what happens on Saturday is going to be just a complete picture of what to evaluate when they come back in June or the end of May.
Coach Huff not looking for that short-term victory. He's looking for the long play as far as evaluations are concerned. When we continue, we're going to wrap this one up. It's The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Coming up tomorrow on the program, we're going to hear from Bob Coleman. He is going to check in with us 5:15 tomorrow. We've got the fountain ceremony coming up to Saturday. It feels like a Friday. It really does. Today feels like a Friday, but it's Saturday. The fountain ceremony is coming up, and Bob's going to join us. He'll be speaking now. This will be the more of the positive, uplifting, moving It won't be as somber as usually the turning off ceremony. For those who maybe not as familiar with this particular ceremony, this is the turning on the fountain. So it's always, they're both upbeat, but there is more of a somber feeling to the turning off of the fountain compared to turning on the fountain. So that will be happening this weekend before the spring game. Bob Coleman joins us tomorrow, 5:15, to tell us about what we can expect from him. He will be the speaker at the ceremony on Saturday. And, of course, we got the green-white game coming up. I mean, I guess I'm calling it the spring game. I'm so used to calling it the green-white game, and we've got that coming up 3 o'clock on Saturday. Of course, if you've got your tickets, you probably already have your instructions. They'll be parking on the west lot. For those of you who have spots, there will not be tailgating. Basically, this is going to be just as it was when we were last at Jones C. Edwards Stadium. You're going to have your mask. The social distancing will be taking place. And so if you've been through it already, you know what to expect. If you haven't been through it yet, just prepare for mask, social distancing. And eventually we'll get to the point where the capacity can be increased. And I'm sure we'll get to that point where masks will not necessarily be needed. We're not there yet, but we're getting closer, and that's a good thing. That's going to do it for this edition. I want to thank once again our producer, Nick Verzolini, who will be leaving us here, I think, 2 more weeks? That's it. One of our best interns we've had in a long while. I appreciate him. Actually, I can't complain. We've had actually a pretty good run of interns, so I can't complain. Unfortunately for all of you, Luke Creasy still is the best, and Luke pays me to say that, but it is true. No, Nick. He's a tough one to beat, and I'll say this. He's doing great work at the Herald-Dispatch, so I'll take all the credit in the world for his good work at the Herald-Dispatch. Nick, thanks for doing it. I appreciate you taking care of me today behind the glass. We'll be back tomorrow one more time here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.